Spirit shirts are okay by me. Less arguing at home. Just wait till your daughter's older. That's how we're starting the show, Abby.
I lived it.
That's how we're starting the show, Abby.
I lived it. He's Paul.
I'm Saul. Let's go. I'm
You're
just
not
joking.
Saul. You're not Saul.
I know you set me up on that one.
He's Paul.
No, I'm Paul.
He's
and
Paul.
you're Saul.
There it is.
Let's go.
And we're Paul and Saul here to give you the news and argue about uniform and whether or not they're useful.
Christopher, tell them where we're sitting today.
Today we are sitting in the Movement Mortgage Studios, brought to you by Steve Schutt's Movement Mortgage branch here on John Sims Parkway. We're happy to be here, and I know you're happy to have
They gave me this awesome hat.
Look how well... Would you be well coiffed? Is that
That's
a thing?
fine. I'll
well,
go with
well
coiffed.
heeled?
Yeah, the hat is awesome.
He has a hat. It's patched. It's
Yeah.
durable.
And if you have a business, you can send me a hat, and I'll wear it on the show.
He will. He's done it multiple times.
Yeah, almost every time.
Almost every episode.
Yeah.
And so we're happy to be here, and we're happy to be both Paul.
And Saul.
We're the other ones, though.
Yeah,
So,
that's how that works.
Yeah, but let's get started.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Kind of a big show this week. We have several good pieces of information for you guys out there in information land. Starting with
Nolan
first
Weeks.
and foremost, Nolan Weeks. So
Yeah.
former jail director in Okaloosa County, Nolan Weeks. We've obtained his responses to the investigation that took place some months ago that ultimately ended up with his resignation.
Right. He's clapping back a bit.
He's clapping back a wee bit, but the long and the short of the idea is that he doesn't feel that the investigation was fair.
Right.
And he cites several key points that I think are of interest. Key point number one, he believes that the investigation, which was at one point headed by the HR director over there at Okaloosa County, didn't have the rigor that it needed from both the attorney that was in charge of it and then the HR director that actually did the investigating or asked some of the questions. He claims that she asked him about getting a job at Health Cred. She claims that he said that he has all these. He has a list of claims and complaints that he says make this what precipitated out of this investigation, this document is not legit. It's not good enough to go after him for.
Sure.
All this came in before he left the county. He left the county. He wasn't fired. And he had a non-disclosure agreement that, or non-disclosure. He said that he wouldn't sue the county based on this. And a lot of people online, and I think it's a legitimate question, say, why did he have to sign something that said, hey, I won't sue you? What did the county get out of that? Because you don't ask somebody to not sue you for no reason.
Well, actually, a lot of employers have you sign that form before you even start working for them.
Indeed, but they didn't have him sign that before that.
Yeah.
They had him sign that.
So basically, he's saying he was treated as a civilian, not as a law enforcement officer, and that he didn't like the methodology of which the investigation and how it took place. That's
right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I don't think this story is going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think there's just too much involved in it. Health Cred Care is still an active business. He's on the website as the co-founder, which I found to be interesting. So he and his brother, I guess, co-founded this company now at this point. And that doesn't really line up with what he said in his interviews for this investigation. So I'm continuing to watch this thing, but it's a little uncomfortable, a little interesting.
It's a good one.
All right. Well,
I love it. County politics.
County politics, my friends, and government. But the story I think that you're probably most excited about today.
We're going to talk about ADUs again.
Accessory dwelling units, friends and coworkers, are the little buildings that you can put outside on your property that are not directly attached to your property. People can do them for like mother-in-law suites or for when your kids come home inevitably from college after getting their underwater basket degree, and come to live at your house, and you can just have them not in your house. Stuff like that.
Tiny Home Nation.
Tiny Home Nation is another good example. But the reason it's getting brought up initially is because there is a home in Niceville that just got an ADU, and it caused quite the commotion at the Niceville City Council.
The neighbors didn't like it, and then one of the council members actually lives in the neighborhood.
Yes, so one of the councilmen, Bill Schatzel, brought this up and said, hey, my understanding is that this is within our current ordinances. They didn't do anything wrong by doing this, but I want to make it so that it is wrong so that we never have something like this happen again. Direct quote was to keep Niceville nice.
Well, did he clarify whether he just is against ADUs in their totality or if he wants it to look a certain way?
So I think it might be a look a certain way thing, but it wasn't clear. And the reason that I have a hard time getting the idea that it's completely against ADUs as a whole is because when I was driving through the neighborhood, I was sending you pictures. Yeah. And I was like, hey, I think this is it. I drive by, and then there's 3 other buildings, outbuildings, I would call them, in this relatively dense neighborhood.
Sure.
I mean, they're half-acre lots, but it's not like farms. You know what I'm saying? And as I'm driving through, I'm seeing all these extra buildings, and then finally I see this one, which is bigger than the other ones, granted. Yeah. It's a different color than the house, granted, but so were some of the other buildings.
Sure.
And so I guess my question is how are you going to enforce something like that when the buildings look different, they're different heights, sizes, distances from the home?
Yeah.
How do you make a narrowly tailored enough ordinance to stop whatever blight there is, but also not impugn people's rights?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic. So I don't think our city council should take a stance against ADUs. We know that there's potentially state legislature coming down that says you have to allow them anyway, in some form or fashion, with some minimum criteria and that type of thing. With the state of the area and Niceville's need for more attainable housing, I don't want to see ADUs going away. I do think it's a slippery slope when you start telling people what the design standard should be for them. But I could see why people, want to have them. You don't want something crazy going in the backyard. And even though it's in the backyard and no one will see it, people can see them. And so, I don't know, it would be interesting to ask exactly what he meant. But, I think ADUs are a necessity in our current housing environment. They're not uncommon. And we have the story, or you have the story coming up about what this specific one's going to be used for, and it's for a really good reason.
Yeah, and so just to give kind of a brief overview, this ADU was put in by this family. The mother in this situation / daughter is a doctor who actually won our Niceville Good Neighbor award a couple of months ago for the work that she does with the autism community. Her oldest child has autism and is eventually going to live there, but not before her mother-in-law, who needs additional help, or her mother, who needs additional help, is going to live there first. And so it's one of those things where you look at the use of it and you go, man,
that makes sense.
And they brought
completely
to me,
makes sense.
They brought to me the argument that this is supposed to be a disability-friendly community because of how amazing ECAC is. People come here. They have never been stationed here. They're a military family. Yeah. The husband retired. They've never been stationed here, and they literally moved here so that they could access the Emerald Coast Autism Center facilities. Right. And you think of other people like the headliners of the concert last year for ECAC, Lawrence Brownlee, that came here specifically for this. And so when we become unfriendly towards people with additional needs, and part of that could be ADUs. Yeah. ADUs give people a unique opportunity to have independence, whether they're because they're older or whether because they have a disability or whether they are, struggling with whatever they're struggling with. Those are the purpose for one of the purposes for ADUs. So like I said, I don't think they're going away. I would be curious how the city of Niceville handles it at the upcoming board meetings, and maybe you can ask a couple clarifying questions to figure out, are they completely, are members completely against it, or are they more so looking for design standards that fit with the community? So Doug Tolbert, another city councilman, kind of pushed back on this idea at the city council meeting. So I'm going to cover what happened at the city council meeting. I'm going to cover this family and why they're putting this in. But he said, we've been up here, and he was on the Planning and Zoning Commission for a long time.
Yeah, of course.
We've been up here for a long time talking about the need for affordable housing, and all we talk about is affordable housing. And
right.
then when somebody wants to do something to create affordable housing, we get mad about it.
Right.
And
yeah,
I mean, he's not wrong. So
he's not wrong. The last couple of things that have come before the board that had to do with attainable and affordable housing were not approved. So
no, and so just as a guy who sits around and sees that more people my age are moving to Freeport or Crestview because they can't afford to live here,
right?
Or people younger than me can't afford to get a start here and contribute to the community and put their head down here at night.
Yeah,
it's really frustrating.
Yeah,
and so I'm hoping that they'll discuss it at length and see that. Yeah.
I mean, when you start putting the story together or finalizing it, if you want a couple of quotes on the housing side, I'm more than happy to help.
I would love that.
Yeah.
As a developer, I need somebody that understands what's going on.
Yeah,
so before we get to our third story about shooting blanks, not what you think. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here on Paul and Saul. Thank you especially to our donors who help us and support Mid-Bay News in general, but Paul and Saul in specifically and particular put together.
There you
That's
go.
not a word.
Yeah,
anyway, if you can, help us by leaving a review or recommending us to other people, sharing it, all that other kind of stuff, leaving a comment even. That boosts the algorithm, and we need that. So midbaynews.com for all things Mid-Bay News, and midbaynews.com/newsletter if you want to get on our newsletter list and get the news as quickly as you can. Anyway, story number 3 comes to us courtesy of Billy Bowlegs, the 6th Ranger Training Battalion, and the people of Crab Island. This weekend was an interesting one.
When things come together.
Yes.
What a Venn diagram of ridiculousness.
It is interesting. We got word of this thanks to videos from Crab Island.
Sure, they made their rounds on the internet.
The 6th Ranger Training Battalion, people that look like they were in the 6th Ranger Training Battalion were in the same area as the 6th Ranger Training Battalion. After
In a
the
black boat.
In a black boat. So Billy Bowlegs, the festival takes place, and they have an invasion and a naval battle. And this year, the naval battle apparently took place with members of the 6th Ranger Training Battalion as a part of an official kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like sanctioned. There were noise alerts put out. Nobody was to freak out because everybody knew about it. Well, it looks like at some point before all of that went down, members of what appears to be a military outfit that is very similar to the 6th Ranger Training Battalion were shooting off blank rounds of ammunition with military-style weapons
around the general
public at Crab Island, which led to several police calls that were responded to by the sheriff's office. And according to the CAD report, there were 3 calls. People came out. I'm trying to figure out what some of the language means in the computer-aided dispatch. The CAD report is. But suffice it to say, it made the rounds enough so that the city of Fort Walton Beach put out a statement that said, hey, there was some other stuff that went down that was not a part of what we were doing. Our hands are clean. Please don't be mad at us. And
they ran away from that really quickly.
Yeah, they as in military parlance, they popped smoke and made movements as quickly as a entire city can.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. So who is that? That's
Shaggy.
Yeah, big Shaggy energy. So we have reached out to everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean Coast Guard, the Army. The Army told us to talk to the Air Force, who told us to go ahead and talk to the Army, who told us to talk to the Air Force, and then I said, no, we're not talking to the Air Force again. We're going to talk to the Army. And they're like, okay, we'll get you a statement. Sorry about that.
All right.
Just a lot of people. I've called a lot of people today. So my hope is that by the time this airs, we will have a little bit more understanding of what the situation is, who's party to it, and what it means for those people.
Will there be repercussions?
There may be, there may not be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We may never find out.
But yeah, we may never find out. It's a fun thing about that. So be on the lookout.
Yeah.
For dudes in little black boats.
Upcoming story later.
Anyway, final story today for us is about customary use. The customary use battle in South Walton labors on, much like American wars in Southeast Asia, seems to never end. And that is because even though House or Senate Bill 1622 passed both the House and Senate and is on the governor's desk for his signature, which would, in theory, allow more loose use of private property that's under what's called customary use, which is the ability since time immemorial to walk on the beach. It looks like there's still going to be hijinks at the local level due to the fact that people are going to sue. People don't totally understand what's going on. The beach chair vendors, who apparently are militantly aggressive, are not going to just stop being that way. And at the end of the day, a lot of people are worried about private property rights on one side and the ability to bring in tourists to vacation homes, stimulate the local economy, stuff like that on the other side.
So basically you're saying you don't think anything changes?
Not immediately. I think that...
then what was the purpose of this whole thing?
Of the whole...
To roll it back, right?
To roll it back, in theory, but...
Yeah.
When people got beachfront money, people got beachfront money lawyers, and when people got beachfront money lawyers, they're going to use them.
So you're saying that the legislation is still valid, that it rolls things backwards, but because of all the pending lawsuits and everything, you're not going to see a short-term change.
So yeah, so in short, instead of the county having to sue landowners in order to allow the public to use customary use on people's lands, now the landowners need to sue the county.
Oh, fun.
And so that means that the landowners, of course, will have to bring those lawsuits and say, no one's ever walked here before. That's never happened. This is my land. Stay away, stay off. And that'll have to work its way through the courts, whether or not that actually works, whether or not the mean high water line or the erosion control line are the place where people can walk or not walk, and what happens when all that beach sand goes away and then it needs to get renourished. Do the property owners say, I don't care if this erodes all the way into Tennessee, you can't touch my land.
Right. I'll just build my house on stilts.
Something to that end, right? There's just a lot of questions left.
Yeah.
So if you get accosted by a zealous beach chair rental dude, don't be surprised.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, Paul, I don't know if you were...
I watched some of the video.
You watched some of last week's football shenanigans?
I did. I watched some of your video that you shot, and some private citizens also took some video, and it looked like a lot of fun. It
was a good time. We learned a lot, but we still also didn't learn everything about what's going on over at the Niceville High School football team brain trust, as it were, now led by head coach Richard Morgan. As usual, I sat down with Heath Rominger. He is the president CEO of Rominger's Renovations, class of 1988, Niceville High School.
That means he's got the ring.
State champion.
That means he has the ring.
In high school football and Niceville City Councilman, to talk a little bit more about what we saw from the 4 teams there, Niceville, of course, but also 2 teams we're playing this coming year for sure, Mosley and Crestview, and then also Fort Walton Beach, which I don't want to give too much away, but didn't look like the total dumpster fire that they usually do.
Pulling it together.
I mean, I don't want to... Let's not stretch. I'm just saying, like, 4-win team is they look like the 4-win.
Sure.
Christopher Saul here with Heath Rominger, 1988 state champion with the Niceville Eagles football team. We're watching the spring football game. Niceville's taking on, or just took on, Fort Walton Beach. They looked okay, and now they're taking on Crestview High School's Bulldogs, the host of this event. And you'll hear some loud stadium noises in the background because sometimes it be the way that it be. And we're just going to jam with them right now, again.
Got to get our jam on.
We have to get our jam on, but we've been watching Niceville. So far, what's been your takeaway from what we've seen so far?
Well, I tell you, Coach Morgan coming in, and he's got to see what he's got to work with, kind of put the guys where he needs them at with his offensive scheme. They look pretty good, actually. This is like not even really a scrimmage. It's like I don't know. We're not really going full speed, but we are. But not really just showing your poker hand, but you're playing, But it's neat to see. It's nice watching these guys get out here and show some of their talents they have on here. So as Coach Morgan assesses the team, because keep in mind, he's only been doing this, 3 weeks now?
Something like that.
I mean, it's like he's got in here, hey, spring ball, let's go, guys. We got to rock and roll.
It's such a fast turnaround. But the thing that I think you and I have both noticed is that Niceville's defense looks really good.
Yes.
They've allowed some stuff, but it's a short field, right?
Yeah.
Mosley just laid a kid from Fort Walton out.
Oh,
so, you'll hear a little bit of stuff, stadium background stuff, and that's the fun part of doing stuff like this on location. But defense looks really good. A lot of returning players. You got Robert Stiff, and he's on offense, playing at wideout, catching some really good balls in these scrimmage games. Justice Donahue playing in the secondary, making a couple of big plays already, and just watching the kids that are moving up the depth chart to the quarterback slots. A couple of running backs have gotten a couple of carries as well. What are you looking for from this team as they adapt to the new coach and Coach Morgan adapts to them?
Well, I like the way you put that. It is going to be adapting to each other. These kids are going to have to make some changes. Already, I've seen one of the guys who traditionally plays defense. I see him on offense. Haven't seen him on defense yet. But as well as coaches, got to figure out what talent he has to work with and how it's going to work into his scheme for offensive play calling to move the ball. Because there's a lot of talent on the field, both offense and defense, that's held over from last year. As you know, most of the defensive is returning. So he's got a lot to work with. So it's going to be interesting to see how he puts it all together.
The other thing I think we should probably talk about are the other three teams that are here. Maybe not so much Fort Walton Beach, we're not going to play in the regular season this year. So far, we do have 9 games that are officially on the schedule. We have 2 bye weeks. Typically, a high school football team plays 10 games. So I'm assuming they're going to fill that one of those slots in October with somebody. But just 2, we don't know yet. But let's look at the team right now that Niceville is on the field against, and that's Crestview High School. What's your kind of initial assessment of the Bulldogs?
Well, Crestview last year had a very young team. And I tell you, I see a lot of those players returning this year. And I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be a different game. Even though it was only a 1-point ball game last year, if I remember correctly. It was a nail biter.
It got out of hand after this first half.
Or maybe it was the year before it was a nail biter. Oh, I'm sorry. But either way, these guys, there's some strong talent on the Crestview team. I tell you what, they got the Bulldog look in their eyes. And I tell you what, it's interesting to see what their head coach has done this year to transform them as they go into the next year to be more competitive. Because I tell you, there's some speed on that.
Yeah, Thomas Grant has done a great job with the Bulldogs. I mean, the Bulldogs were always kind of like the redheaded stepchild of, Okaloosa County football, for lack of a better term. Now, they've had really good years. Don't get me wrong. Don't hear me say the redheaded stepchild and think, oh, they've been bad since the beginning. Because that's just not true. They've had really good runs. They're a really good football team. But, when Fort Walton Beach has a state championship, and Choctaw has a state championship, Niceville has a state championship, and Baker has 3 state championships, and granted a lower division, sometimes they get left out. And they've got a lot of raw talent down there, and like you said, it's just about molding that raw talent into something that is weaponized on the field.
Exactly.
And so as we look over here to the east side of the field here in Crestview, we're watching Fort Walton Beach go up against Mosley. Mosley has a lot of turnover in its skill positions from last year as well, but they do retain some significant talent both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, which we're watching right now as they play some really good defensive secondary coverage against Fort Walton Beach. What's your assessment of these guys over here?
Well, I tell you, Mosley doesn't look like they missed a beat. I mean, look, they've still got the head coach. They've got pretty much a lot of their returning players. Obviously, they were a thorn in Niceville's side last year. Niceville was fortunate enough not to have to play them a second time, but had to go play Lincoln. But these guys here, I tell you what, just watching them the first segment, they would look pretty tough. They moved the ball on the offense, some big playmakers. Defensively, they're just going after the ball. Yeah,
and they look pretty big. I was watching their JV play earlier, and the kids that they have showing up from JV are
yes. I thought that was the varsity.
I know, they look big, huh? And so, we're watching these guys now playing Fort Walton Beach on defense, but they've got some pipe hitters.
Oh, look! Oh my God! Did you see that play there?
Yeah, he put him down.
That defensive end came around, just smacked the ball down as the quarterback released it.
Yeah, look, Mosley's not somebody to be trifled with, and for my money, I have Mosley as probably the team to beat in the district in order to make the playoffs. I think Lincoln's probably still going to be very good.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Milton is still probably going to be very bad, even though they have a brand new coach, but that takes a while. And I think Niceville is the big question mark this year.
I can definitely agree there. It's going to be see what Coach Morgan does with the team. You talk about Milton. Milton doesn't get a lot of transfers in now. It's kind of small to, most of your, even though it's a kind of a Navy town, you get a lot of young pilots come through there. They're going through flight school and things like that. So not transitioning a lot of, mature
People with kids.
With kids. Where Crestview, Niceville, Mosley, these guys are always bringing in military left and
They're
right.
all mid to late career guys.
Yep.
They're all
Yep.
majors and lieutenant colonels as opposed to lieutenants and captains.
Yep. And then seeing these guys come in and try and make an impact on the field is just it's impressive to watch these kids.
Well, I mean, it's going to be an exciting year. We're going to have a full readout on spring ball and what's gone on. But first game, August 22nd, Niceville at Lincoln. How about that?
At Lincoln, that's
At Lincoln.
that's a tough venue to do. First game of the season, you're playing one of your biggest rivals now. One of your first hurdles to winning district. That's always tough.
Right out of the gate. And
I'm really interested, like I said, what Coach does with the off season to condition these guys and then to keep them focused. He's got his work cut out for him. But I was going to say, do you plan on doing maybe a post-spring interview with Coach Morgan to kind of say what's your assessment? And
I'd love to if I can get to him.
Yeah.
It just depends on what his schedule is coming out of this thing. But that'd be wonderful.
yeah, I'd be interested to see his assessment. What because he's seen a lot of he's got 25, 30 years of coaching experience, and it'd be interesting to see that he's coming in down here to the south. Georgia's not really south, and but hey, what kind of kids, what kind of talent do you see, and how they compared to what you've had up in Marietta and had in Virginia? To kind of see hey, how excited are you to work with these kids and the talent that you have to, and what his assessment is.
All parting thoughts on this beautiful evening from Crestview High School in Crestview, Florida. What do you think, man? How's it been?
It's been beautiful. We had a little breeze earlier today, kind of knocked the edge off there a little bit, but it's a great venue.
It's fixing to be hot, man. Well, we have Crestview at home this year, so this will probably be our only time watching the Eagles play ball here, unless something happens with the playoffs. I guess it wouldn't happen in the playoffs because they're not in the same A classification. Crestview moved up a couple years ago, which is a shame. See, man, I think that's just if in my perfect world, we have a county playoff, and then we go from there. The two best teams in the county, and then that'd be your first round.
Yeah.
And then, but I get it. Some schools are bigger than other schools, and it's not fair or whatever. But I think what if SMU can play Division I football against UT and LSU, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Everybody's got to put the uniform on, and everybody's got to play the game.
I would love to see a Baker-Niceville game. That would be fun. Why not?
That would definitely be interesting. I think it'd be a good game, though.
I think it'd be a good game.
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying is I think that the classification system. Oh, that was a good pass.
Oh,
did he get it?
pick.
Wow.
You got the pick.
Wow, he got the pick. It wasn't a good pass. It was actually a really bad pass.
Yeah, it's bad. Short pass, underthrown. Defensive back just happened to have the inside on him and was able to put the brakes on and come back to the ball.
Well, guys, this is going to be on our Paul and Saul next week. We'll have it separate as well for you guys. But get ready for some football, people. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time.
It's around the corner.
That's right. See y'all later.
That's everything we got today. Special thanks to our boy Heath for sitting down with us to talk Fool's Ball. And we'll see you guys next week.
Be nice, Niceville.
You've heard the man.
See ya. Have mercy. Ho, 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 Christmas. Ohio.